Let's talk about what just happened, because this is one of those rare moments where a political decision cuts across everything you know about business culture and the law. For the first time in more than 50 years, a sitting president has directed a fundamental rewrite of the federal government's relationship with cannabis. This isn't a small adjustment, this is a tectonic shift in policy. So let's break down exactly what this means, why it's happening right now, and what the world looks like after this decision. First, the announcement itself came not as a sweeping new law, but as a directive, a powerful executive instruction to reclassify cannabis under the Controlled Substances Act. This moves it from Schedule 1, which is for drugs with no medical use and high abuse potential, like heroin, down to Schedule 3, which acknowledges accepted medical use and a lower abuse potential. Think of drugs like ketamine or testosterone. This single administrative move effectively ends the era of treating cannabis as one of the most dangerous substances in the country. Now, the immediate question everyone is asking is why? Why would this administration choose this moment to do this? The reasons are layered like an onion. On the surface, you have the overwhelming force of public opinion. The numbers are undeniable. A consistent supermajority of Americans across all age groups and political affiliations now support some form of legalization. This is no longer a fringe issue. It is a mainstream consensus. But beneath that public pressure lies a potent political calculation. Look at the electoral map. States that have legalized cannabis, whether for medical or recreational use, are not just blue states, they are crucial purple battlegrounds: Ohio, Florida, Arizona, Pennsylvania. By taking this step, the administration is speaking directly to a broad coalition of voters, including younger voters and independents who see this as a common-sense issue. It is a dramatic move to neutralize a political advantage and reshape the narrative ahead of a major election. Then we have the economic engine, which has been roaring at the state level for years. The legal cannabis industry is a juggernaut, generating tens of billions in revenue and creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. But it has been operating with one hand tied behind its back because of federal prohibition. The biggest choke point has been banking. Legitimate businesses cannot access normal banking services. They cannot get loans. They operate in cash, making them targets and stifling growth. This reclassification opens the door for full banking reform, instantly unleashing a wave of institutional investment and legitimizing an entire sector of the economy. This is about jobs, growth, and capturing a global market. But we cannot discuss the why without acknowledging the profound human cost of the old policy. The war on drugs, built over decades, has led to millions of nonviolent cannabis-related arrests, disproportionately affecting communities of color and creating cycles of incarceration and poverty. This policy shift, while not outright forgiveness, begins to dismantle that architecture. It signals a fundamental rethink of justice and opens the door for broader sentencing reforms and expungement initiatives at the state level. So, what happens now? What are the real-world implications? First, you'll see an immediate surge in the stock prices of cannabis companies. But more importantly, you'll see a flood of capital from Wall Street. Big Pharma is already deeply interested in cannabinoid research, and this removes a massive legal barrier for clinical studies and patentable medicines. Second, the tension between state and federal law, which has created a legal gray zone for years, begins to dissolve. States that have legal markets can breathe easier. Businesses can deduct normal expenses. They can transport products across state lines where legal, and the threat of federal raids disappears entirely. Third, this changes the global conversation. Countries that look to the U.S. as a policy leader now have a model for reform. This could accelerate legalization efforts worldwide, from Europe to Latin America, reshaping international drug treaties and trade. But of course, this is not without controversy and risk. Critics on one side argue this does not go far enough, that cannabis should be fully descheduled and legalized like alcohol. They see this as a half measure that still leaves a regulatory framework in place. On the other side, some in law enforcement and certain political factions see this as a dangerous surrender, a signal that drug use is acceptable, which they believe could lead to greater public health issues. So, the reaction has been predictably polarized. Advocacy groups are calling it a historic step, but demanding more. Legislators who have fought for this are cautiously celebrating, while opponents are preparing legal and legislative challenges. The medical community is divided between those who see therapeutic potential and those concerned about youth access and mental health impacts. So, where does this lead us? This decision is not an endpoint, it is a catalyst. It sets in motion a chain of events that will be irreversible. It legitimizes an industry, it changes the conversation on criminal justice, and it repositions the United States on the world stage. The genie is out of the bottle. The future is now one of regulation, not prohibition, of commerce, not crime, and of a slow but definite reckoning with the policies of the past. This is how eras end, not with a bang, but with a rescheduling notice and the quiet sound of an entire country moving in a new direction.